Hello, I'm Clare Bailey, and I'm the retail expert working with Business Lincolnshire to deliver a series of playbooks and supplementary videos, as this is one of, with my colleague Kim. And I'm currently delivering on supply chain and supplier management. This is part three. There are several other videos in this series. They're short and sweet, and this one's all about managing stock. So, what about managing stock? Obviously, some of the key considerations are to make sure that your stock aligns to your buying plan and your cash flow and your sales cycle. So you may have seasonal products that you need to buy in bulk and then have a when it's gone policy. And you may have continuity products that are really important to your overall underlying sales rate, and your customers expect them to be in stock at all times. And they'd be the ones that you'd buy consistently and never go out of stock. And that's the sort of two different profiles. There are other types of profile, like, for example, if you're looking at fashion. So we'll have buying cycles for fashion seasons, Christmas, Easter, and so on. But in the main, the aim for some of the seasonality profiles is to come to the point where you've run out of stock at the point where demand dries up. And I mean, that's like a dark art, but at least you can do your very best with that and use promotions and discounting if necessary to make sure that you clear the stock, as long as you're selling above cost price plus VAT to get the cash flow back in the business. The next part about managing stock is about understanding your lead times and order frequency, because that will have a fairly significant impact on your stock holding level. So, for example, if you can only order once a month and then the lead time is a month, you may want to be sitting on 2 months worth as a minimum of stock to allow for the entire lead time to be covered from order cycle to order cycle. Or it may even be that if it's a particularly volatile product, you'll need to order slightly more safety stock, subject to it being something that you would keep in stock at all times and make sure that you didn't run out of. On other types of products, creating that sense of urgency, the FOMO, the fear of missing out, is actually quite a good way to stimulate demand. So you could say, we're back in stock for a short time only. And it's really about understanding your customer, understanding the product seasonality, the product behavior, and how valuable they are to your range, which obviously is something we talked about in the range planning aspect, in order to work out what would be right for you. If suppliers are willing to be more flexible on lead times and more agile when it comes to things like delivery frequency and order frequency, that's great. But then leading off from that, you have to watch out on the minimum order quantities, because some suppliers will expect you to order quite a significant amount of product, which could put you into an overstock position. And if it's something you're not sure about, you have to ask yourself, is this product really worth going with that minimum order quantity, and attempting to potentially negotiate for preferential terms, sale or return, and various other aspects, so that you can manage your stock flow until such time as obviously you've got enough business data and sales information to be confident, I guess, to invest more significantly in stock holding. That's obviously as well subject to you having the storage capacity to do so. Now, other ways that you can work this is, if the suppliers are willing, or perhaps you can collaborate with other stockists from different areas. If the deliveries have to come in from overseas, there may be a method to split deliveries to manage cash flow. And there may be methods to have shared centralized warehousing at, say, a UK location that is willing to then drop ship to your stores for stockists across the country who are non-compete because of geographical reasons, but stocking the same products. There's lots of different ways and means to make sure that you manage your stock cash and stock throughput, whilst also potentially complying with the supplier's need to, let's say, fill a load or fill a container. And then the final point about managing stock is about forecasting your sales as accurately as you possibly can. The best thing is to look at it by category and then disseminate that down into each of your SKUs, stock keeping units, products, however you like to describe that. But it's the individual items, and making sure that you've got some kind of indication on rates of sale, period of selling. So is it an all year round item or a seasonal item? And if there are any peaks and troughs, so that you can have an indication as to what an appropriate amount of stock cover would be. Now I go on to my recommendations, the things I'd like you to do. And I say it's just one thing, but it's never just one thing. So the things that I'd like you to focus on if you've got the opportunity is to have a look at your stock flow, because that's where your profit can live and die. Too much stock is going to tie up cash, especially if it's likely to go obsolete and have to be discounted to clear. But too little, and you might have availability issues and miss out on sales and lose customer loyalty. So looking at your stock flow and your stock profile is very important. Leading on from that, that is influenced by your lead times, minimum order quantities, and your sales cycle. So all of that has to sync. And doing a little bit of the digging in the data and looking at the processes by which stock is coming in and out of the business, and if you're having periods of overstocks and understocks, is really valuable to ensuring that you protect your bottom line. If you still have opportunity to speak to suppliers about split deliveries or smaller MOQs, extended payment terms, and so on, that's always a benefit. And a negotiation should be a win-win. So if you're saying, I could place more business your way, if you could help me out here, as we covered in the previous session, that would be beneficial. But finally, your goal isn't just to have full shelves, it's to have the right stock in the right quantities at the right time. So it doesn't matter if something goes out of stock, if it isn't necessary right now and it's not going to disgruntle customers. You can face over that in your store, but it's making sure that you've got the profitable products on the shelf at the time when customers want to buy. So that's why your stock flow is super important. And that's it. As I said, they're short and hopefully useful snippets of information that link back to the playbook. And if you didn't find this video via the playbook and maybe found it just via YouTube, then you can access the full playbook with downloadable templates and much more advice via businesslincolnshire.com/programs/retail accelerator program. Of course, you're already on the YouTube channel if you're watching this, in which case you can find many more of these short webinars. And if you feel you'd like to have some one-to-one support and advice, you can contact your local Growth Hub advisor via businesslincolnshire.com/contact-us. Thank you for listening. See you next time.